Alison. Yes, indeed, it is. It is. I'm Alison Arngrim. This is the Alison Arngrim Show. Although I think many of you may just recognize me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. But tonight, I really Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make us feel good, the television shows and the movies that made us feel good and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. Oh, I got a good one tonight. So this is a whole behind the scenes trip we're taking. Now, many of you watch the Emmys, you know about the Emmys. Many of you follow the daytime Emmys, and you're online, you know about web series nominated, you know all about the Emmys. But this is going deep dive behind the scenes Emmys, and I guarantee some of you are going to go, "What? No, I did not know that was even a thing." About Emmy sponsorship. And you say, "Oh, yeah, I'm watching the Emmys on TV, the commercials." No, no, no. There's an entire other wing of sponsorship for the actual Emmys, of the actual production, that you probably don't even know this is even going on. And there's this marvelous woman who is the head of business development for the Emmys, which you probably didn't even know they had a head of business development. And now you do. This is like amazing. The changes at the Emmys and the things that have gone on. It's like mind blowing. And I have with me Tabatha Starcher, head of business development of the Emmys. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, for people who are just completely new to this, can you explain what you do? Many people are just familiar with, well, there's an award show, they hand out the trophies, there's voting, but you are actually head of business development, which is not something people maybe immediately think of.
That is absolutely true. I think when people think of the Emmys, they think of an organization that gives trophies to famous people. And it is what we do, right? But we do so much more than that. We do have a fabulous foundation that I absolutely have to mention. So we have a foundation that gives scholarships and grants to kids who want to be Allison, who want to be like you, who want to be
Oh,
able
that's, I'm sure they want to be like me, but that's okay.
they want to be creators, and they want to be writers, and they want to be producers, and they want to be all of these things. And so part of what the Academy does is help the next generation get their start in this industry. So we do that. And we do many, many other things, including, yes, we do pride ourselves in the fact that we give awards to some of the very best and brightest in the industry. And we try to really promote the people who are telling great stories, telling good stories, who are entertaining us, who are there for us during the pandemic, and there for us when we're having a rough day and we go home and turn our TV on and kind of disappear for a little while. And so those people are a huge part of our lives every single day. And so are sponsors and advertisers. Those are also people who are a huge part of our life every single day, even if we don't want to own that, they are. And
Right, the
so
show's not going on, really. I mean, we all know if there's not some kind of sponsorship, what are we supposed to? Got to pay for the drapes and the thing, somehow. And that's the thing. We think sponsorship. Someone asked me before. I said, well, yes, you watch a show and you see that there are TV commercials. And obviously, the show ain't on unless somebody's running some kind of commercial sponsorship. But this is a whole other arm of sponsorship that many people never even see, that is going on at the Emmys, at the red carpet, at the build up to the Emmys, totally behind the scenes, sponsor like the actual show, the actual production. This is really where the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences is technically a nonprofit.
yes. And so we are technically a nonprofit. And I think that's two different questions, at least in my mind. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is when we talk about how sponsorship and advertising is changing. So I don't want to age you, so I'm going to age me and tell you, when I was growing up, advertising was the way we paid the bills in television, right? But what has changed is that, over the last even 10 years, it's been dramatic, but most certainly over the last 20 or 30 years. When I was a kid watching Little House on the Prairie, my siblings and I waited for the ad to come on, and you are darting, you're running to get your snacks, you're running to take a bathroom break, you're going to let the dog out, you're doing these things, and then you're hurling over each other because you got to hurry up to get your good seat back, whatever the best seat in the house was.
Recording, there's no TiVo, there's nothing, you can't rewind it.
You're knocking each other over to get back there. But now what's changed, Allison, is that people can pay an extra $5 a month and skip ads, right? If
Yeah, or you
in
can
your
even put it on pause
yeah,
and like go to the bathroom and come back and go fast
yep,
forward.
you could, and you don't have to do that. And so both the TV shows, the networks, the streaming platforms, and the client have to figure out how are we going to still interact um, without it being a 15 or 30-second ad. And the answer to that ranges everything from in-show integrations to exactly the things you talked about, being much more present at the show itself, interacting with the celebrity guests, with the producers, getting those influencers online to start promoting their products because they have experienced them, hold them, touch them, pick them up, feel them, like them, start wearing them, start using them, start eating or drinking whatever product it is, and having them on shows like this one, having them on their Instagrams, on their Facebooks, on their this, on their that, and having them be seen on the red carpets and at the after parties. And so those types of experiences, which is more of a interactive experience, is much more what um, advertising used to be, now has moved to. So probably a little more of what you saw when you came to the daytime Emmys this year.
And I think this has to be a lot of because the explosion of, well, hello, we're all on the internet now.
Yes.
That it's all the streaming and all the access to the internet, which 10 years ago even it wasn't like this, and 20 years ago none of this existed that we're even talking about. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this was, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. I think it will continue to evolve, and I think there are many reasons for that. Back to aging myself a little bit here, but back in the day, there were really, if you had a sponsor, let's say you've got a big fortune company. We have several. We have, I have worked with everyone from Coca-Cola to Four Roses to Delta Airlines to on and on, right? And so if they have an advertising budget, and this is just speaking theoretically, they're going to spend $1 million maybe this year. Then it used to be they would spend that basically between ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC.
There
Now,
wasn't anything else. Yeah.
now you're talking. So back then, you might get all of it, but worst case scenario, you're going to get a fourth of it. Now you've got all of these streaming platforms, and you've got all of the shows like this show, and all kinds of opportunities on social media buying and influencers and all of these things, right? And so you can have the same sponsor willing to spend 2 or 3 times that, and a big network still walk away with zero, right? And so you have to come up with ways to have their product and their brand be seen. And to some degree, what has shifted, I think, with sponsorship is that a lot of the power has shifted to the sponsor.
I could
Because
pick and choose.
yes, absolutely, they can pick and choose. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Wow. And then the fact that this that the Academy is actually a nonprofit. People think if they see the show, they think of the network showing it that it's a company, but it's not. The
Yeah, I
Academy
think
itself is not.
yeah, the Academy itself is a nonprofit, and that's a great point, because I think it goes back to a little bit of what I talked about when we first started the conversation, which is we do a lot more than just TV, and a lot more than just giving a trophy to famous people. We do award excellence, but our foundation is a huge part of what we do, and just trying to help with the growth of television as a whole, and what it is to tell these stories, and who is telling these stories, and trying to um, do all the things that responsible media should do, which is, embrace and have growth as an organization and as a community and a society, and to be able to show that, right? And I hope that that's something, as people watch our shows, they're able to see. I think one of the most important parts of my job, and certainly the most favorable thing that I do and enjoy the most, is when we give those scholarships to those kids. When they come to the Emmys, it is so inspirational to watch those young people who have won that scholarship step on that red carpet, and they get to meet people like you that they've watched their whole life, right? And they themselves are being inspired. But if you really step back and you watch them, you learn so much from them, because you see and remember what it was like, um, when those dreams were fresh, when they were real to you, and when you were experiencing that for the first time. And you just have so much hope again. They're so authentic. They tell their stories so legitimately. Um, those kids they do have the power to change the world. And I think that's something that we, as the Academy, want to invest in. And we have done that for decades now. So,
Well, a new thing that's come out is that everything is changing. With all the award shows are changing. We're seeing, because of just how the world has changed, talking about changing categories, having more people in this category, less people in that category. What defines this? What is supporting? What is lead? And now, of course, with the internet, I mean, right now we're gearing up, of course, to the Oscars, and there are several movies nominated for Oscars, but they were on television. They were in the theater, some of them relatively briefly, and then they were on TV because there is streaming. And during the pandemic, there were films that never opened to the theater in 2020 because what could you do? And were totally in TV. So the concept of even of this is strictly a theatrical release, this is strictly a TV show is not the same. And then daytime and nighttime has shifted because, well, now I always say, oh, good Lord, what time is the show on? I don't know. When would you like it to be? It's so bananas. It's like, what day is your show on? All of them. And everything has changed with the streaming, that indeed the Academy has had to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, well, what do we call this? What do we call this now? What do we, wait, okay, we want to give them an award, but what category are they in? What are they doing? And we used to, it was daytime and nighttime Emmys were really apart. And now there's an alignment where they're having to like work together because there's so much crossover and strangeness happening now.
yes, I mean, I think exactly what you said. You explained it in really, really clear layman's terms. I loved it. But you're exactly right. I mean, we're faced with now, at the end of the day, daytime, prime time, even the shows that used to just solely be international and Americans never saw them before, right? They're easily available streaming, and you can watch them anytime you want. So I will say, as head of business development, I am not involved in the realignment side of any of the categories or anything like that. But I can say that it is something that, over the last couple of years, and I think you'll see more of it in the coming years, of course, we have to continue. You have to change with the times, right? That's just how it is. And TV is really not watched anymore in day part. People choose when they want to watch something, a lot like choosing whether or not they want to watch an ad, right? You want to
Yeah.
pay an extra $5 a month to skip the ad? You can. You want to pay an extra $5 a month so that you can stream your favorite show any time of the day or night at 3 o'clock in the morning. You want to watch the 5 o'clock news? Go right ahead, right? And so these are things that are all going to need to be sorted out. They're a little bit above my pay grade, but 100% you're right. Yes. And
So
I think
we still have a nighttime Emmys, a daytime Emmys, and then there isn't actually an international Emmys. As I said, you're not with them, but there is an international Emmys, and that is technically part of the whole three that most people don't even know is happening. So yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. There's actually three academies, as you said. There's the Television Academy, and they do the Primetime Emmys, and then there is the NATAS, who I work for, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and we do the Daytime Emmys, we do the News and Documentary Emmys, the Children's and Family Emmys, the Sports Emmys, the Technology Emmys, and then there is an International Academy. And so there is a lot of Emmys to watch. So tune in.
It literally took watch the Emmys for 3 days straight. With that, I just heard the sports Emmys and the Emmys. You can watch the Emmys, just presentations for 3 days straight. There's that many award shows.
Yes. There's that much talent out there, right? And there's so much talent coming up. So much talent coming up. So we are definitely a society right now in the time that you and I are alive. We are blessed to have some of the most creative people a part of our lifetime, right? you look at the opportunities that you have to be a creative and also to watch creatives. I've never seen anything like this in all of my life.
With all the things, yeah, with the advent when cable started, and it was cable at one point. Remember, what was it, the Ace Awards? Cable, that's not a real thing. We'll get own award show, and now that's blown up, and now streaming. Yeah, people who weren't going to get in to the studio system, to a big studio, are now producing entire series and movies, and now blowing up and becoming famous. And it is a completely different universe. And we didn't, and the children and family Emmys. That's new. That's new. That's a whole other Emmys now. That
Yes,
was new.
yes. This is our second year, and that is also an absolutely a delight. The show is just fantastic, and it warms my heart because when I go to that show, a lot like watching those students, and I talked about it earlier, I think that, you know, television aside, it really warms your heart to see this younger generation coming up and embracing each other and embracing change and embracing, you know, their differences and talking about those things and openly communicating about it and telling their stories and all of the wonderful things that you see coming out of that generation. It's just absolutely, it's inspiring. So
There's hope for us all and hope for television.
yes, absolutely. Yes, yes.
And I saw that, okay, so I went to Daytime Emmys, and that's where I got to see, like, okay, these are the sponsors that regular people are going. I did not know about that. The wine companies, there's the distillery. It was fascinating. These, like, some of them were small family owned businesses that were like small things. But there's distilleries, this couple and the mom. I was like, who are who are these people? And there were all these and then there were the huge companies like toy companies and things for the children and family Emmys. And they were sponsoring, like, well, this party is sponsored by, the red carpet is sponsored by, this part of the awards is sponsored by, and all of the stuff going on that's actually behind the scenes. So now what is that? That's not paying for the airtime. That's paying for all of the stuff that just has to happen.
All of the stuff that has to happen, you know, I mean, I think when you do an award show, it's um, for people who watch the shows, I think it's a hard thing to grasp how much goes into them behind the scenes. Um, you know, because you've been there, right? And so just the small, and I say small in a very light manner. It is quite the feat to get that many people in to the theater itself and down a red carpet and get them interviewed by that many press outlets and get them to their seat and blah 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 blah.
Oh, I was there. It was herding cats. Yes, yes.
It,
And there were so many people. It was huge. And there were so many celebrities. I came early and got through the line. And then about 5 minutes later, I turned around and went, it looked like the 5 o'clock line for the subway. It was just, I
yeah,
mean, they were like, okay, next. Like air traffic control was being called in. There was an insane number of people on that, and you don't see it because it's all orderly, one person at a time. Hi, I'm here because I'm nominated. You don't see this mob of people being dealt with that are coming down the red carpet. No, it was huge. It was huge.
you don't see all the wonderful people that make all of that happen, right? And so all of those people, though, who are making that happen are a part of the show, and they work there that day, and they need to eat, and they need to get paid, and they need all these things, and the venues, you know, that you have to rent, and the this and the that. And so there's so much that people don't see that goes into the Emmys. And then of course there are the after parties. And
It was
so
lovely, by the way.
we are so glad you came. And so I think all of those things are one, something that's super interesting to our clients, because at the end of the day, as the dynamic of how you reach the public changes, so you're not necessarily running a 15-second ad, right? You are trying to reach the people who do have shows just like this one, who do have massive followings on social media, who are influencers. That now has become much more of um, a brand awareness campaign, how you get your brand out now. And so a lot of our brands just want to be there and participate and get it in the hands of people like yourself. And so, yeah, we do have some of the best sponsors in all of the country. And I truly, truly mean that. You had the opportunity to meet a few of them, and some of them are local owned businesses. The Chemist Gin, right out of Asheville, North Carolina. It's a gin that's made right there in the heart of the South, and it's made by a woman. We also do the Biltmore's wine. And then we have people like Lego, right? You cannot beat Lego. I mean, I brought Lego on for the kids, and it really is staggering to me how many grown men will stop me on that red carpet and ask if I have more Legos.
Yeah, I could see the guys because there was like a little display of a bunch of stuff, and I did see the guys go, Lego. They have Lego. Is there Lego in the gift bags? Do we get? They want the Lego. But this is weird because when you're at the red carpet, technically sponsors now they're almost marketing directly to celebrities because they're not necessarily getting seen by the viewers, but they're being seen by us. So the actual people attending it, the people from the soap opera, the people, they're hearing about this wine company, this gin company, these production companies are hearing about these food companies and beverage companies and toy companies, and like literally direct marketing. And so it's like a whole other world. And then I would think then via the internet again, it's the Instagram, etc., and Snapchat and all the internet avenues. Because of the red carpet parties, they're getting coverage that way.
Yes, they're getting coverage that way. And as you know, we send a lot of those gifts home with you, right? And so, one of the Lifetime Achievement winners this year was Peter Cullen. He was Optimus Prime. And so also in the gift bag was Optimus Prime. And once again, I can't tell you how many grown men stopped to try to figure out how Optimus Prime actually transformed, right? So he was on the display table, not Peter, the Optimus Prime. I did not make Peter stand on the display.
You didn't make him sit on the table and explain that. Yeah.
But I did have an Optimus Prime on there who got unwrapped, taken out of his box several times, right? And just to figure out how he worked, right? And so when you send these products home, when you send a bottle of the bourbon home in the gifting bag, for those people who don't know, we do send gift bags home with our celebrity winners. When you win an Emmy, you go home with a fabulous gift bag. And it's the same with many of the award shows. And so these items go home with celebrities. And if they like the product, a lot of the celebrities do post them online. They do rebuy. They do talk about them. They do have them in their internet stories, that type of thing. And it winds up being, to your point, some of the best direct marketing that you can buy. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And now you yourself are listed as an Emmy winner, Emmy nominee. What did you win an Emmy for?
I won a regional Emmy way back in the day. I won a regional Emmy, and it was a wonderful experience for me. I grew up as a kid who had dyslexia, and so I think that experience in and of itself, to be at the Emmys, and to hear your name called when you're sitting there amongst journalists and writers and this type of thing, and you remember growing up and sort of having that thought in the back of your head and being told that that's probably not a profession you're going to get into, right? I do remember as a kid, I had a teacher once suggest to my mom that maybe I should be a truck driver.
Truck driver? Do you like trucks? What?
So
She's like a good truck driver. Okay, wow. Okay.
Let me be clear that I am super grateful for every opportunity I've been given, and also grateful for the people who are truck drivers and who do
I have a celebrity friend whose husband was a truck driver, and she sometimes drove the truck for him and loved it.
Yes, but I also think no matter what the role is, kids should not be stereotyped into.
You're going to be put in a box. You're put in a box to be said. Yeah, the aptitudes back in the day, as we talked about when we were young, there was this sort of thing of they had the IQ tests, they had this, and they had these like aptitude tests, and they would say you are best suited to these types of occupations, and they were always wrong. They were always wrong. They were so completely ridiculous. It was like, yeah, no, that's so not what this person is doing. And so, yeah, that boxing people up, like, "Oh, you drive a truck and you're going to be a journalist, and you're wait, what? No, no, it's
Yeah.
not how that works."
Yeah, I think that for me in that moment, it was about, to have been told that really you needed to do something not creative and not in the journalistic world and not in the this and the that, and then to turn out as someone who won an Emmy was meaningful on a whole nother level, even outside of my career, right? It was meaningful on a very personal level. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. And obviously it wound up being a huge part of my career. So here I sat as head of business development for the Emmys, and overseeing a lot of the opportunities that our foundation does for kids from all walks of life. And I think that's probably what gives me such a passion for watching a lot of those kids as they come down our carpets.
Well,
So
and you talked about children and education and kids, and then I'm seeing in your bio an assistant teacher in Botswana. Wait, what? How did that happen?
yes, I taught school in Botswana. I'm dating myself again, but way back in the mid '90s. I taught first grade in the country of Botswana. And once again, I think for me, and I've always said that in life you can do things for a lot of different reasons, and I truly don't think there are um, very many things that you can do if you do them for the right reason that don't turn out well, right? And so but teaching in the country of Botswana was 100% one of the most influential things that I have ever done in my life. I was a 19-year-old kid at the time, and by American standards, I was raised in poverty level. And I think you kind of grow up thinking to yourself a little bit of woe is me. And then you travel to a place like that. And I think the minute my happy little butt got back on that plane, I realized how blessed I truly was. It has nothing to do with what you have and where you come from. It has everything to do with your opportunity and where you're going. What are you going to do? And living in the United States versus a third world country means that if you're willing to work for it, you can obtain anything. You can become an Emmy Award winner. You can become the head of business development for the Emmys. You can do all of these things. And it just makes you grateful. I think it was, again, I think it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Being a first grade teacher there, I hope that I influenced those kids' lives. I hope that I was able to help them, but I do know they helped me and they impacted my life. There is absolutely no doubt about that. I think sometimes I get too much credit for being a teacher in a third world country, because people don't realize what it did to change me. Right.
Mhm. Well, and it shifts your frame of reference, gives you perspective because as poor as your family may have been growing up, it's true we get ideas about, well, this is poor, this is rich, this is middle, this is poorer than this is poorer, and then
Yes.
yeah, you go to another country and you go, wow, okay, well, yeah, no, I thought I was poor, but that's an entire other level, and you realize these things and shift your frame of reference of what people have to go through just to get through the day in some places in the world that we wouldn't even think of just how hard it is to get from point A to point B and get to the end of the day in one piece. Whereas, and we're like upset if the car doesn't work, going out into the world, especially when you're young, and shifting your whole mindset it's incredibly important. I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said. It absolutely is a frame of reference, right? It helps you to understand Poverty is different to everyone. It's different to everyone. Um, and I think if you can take a reference in your life, any reference in your life, and if you use that reference as one that pushes you, a point of reference in your life is going to do one of two things. It's either going to be a point of reference that you constantly go back to and you think to yourself, that's too difficult, I'm not going to be able to do it, it didn't work out this time. Or it can be a point of reference in your life that you constantly refer to and say, I overcame this, I am in a better shape because of it, I am these things, right? And so a point of reference in your life is absolutely critical. We all have them, and how we use them makes you who you are.
To be
Right.
able to look back, yeah, you look back at your, when you're in a difficult situation, you have to look back, go, what was something difficult I got through before? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's that. And of course, can't go there with it. The infamous, fabulous Susan Lucci, famous for not winning for like 8 million years, it seemed, and then
Yes.
finally winning. And then we finally did the Lifetime Achievement Award. It
Yes.
was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. Point of reference, right? I mean,
Talk about perseverance with
oh my
Susan Lucci.
gosh. And I mean, I think people look at that and they think to themselves, well, but I mean, it's Susan Lucci. And I mean, she was nominated for Emmys. It's extremely difficult to be publicly, um, when you lose and you lose and you lose and you lose and you lose, people talk about it and talk about it and talk about it.
Make fun of you, and this is your job, and she's an actress, and she's giving her whole life to do this,
And
and
she's
she's
incredible
working
at it.
so hard, and she's good, and she very good attitude about it, had made fun of it, had a total sense of humor. But well, speaking as someone who's been made fun of for the character, I think how people make fun of you for these things, and if you go up and it's like, oh, ha, Susan, she's the code word for I got nominated a million times and didn't win. It's and I mean when they ran the clip of the thing of when she finally won, and the man who presented her was like, I got to present, and finally when she won. But yes, it was almost like a comedy thing of like, and we're giving her the Lifetime Achievement Award because Susan Lucci stuck it out longer than anybody at the Emmys. But it's true. I mean, when you think of really how sensitive someone could be as an actress, and this is their whole livelihood and their art, to then get like people laughing at them for losing at the Emmy, like, ow.
Well, I mean, and for all the times that she lost, for all the times that she lost, and then she won once, and now it's all everyone talks about, right? And it is because she stuck with it. She refused to let all of those times get to her, right? She
Mhm.
refused to let that define her. And so I think her story is incredibly inspirational. One, because yes, she is, for me, she is the daytime Emmys. When you mention the daytime Emmys,
Yeah,
Susan,
she is the thing. She's a Lucci.
she's crazy. Yes, it's Susan Lucci, right? But aside from that, though, she is also, you think about how she has persevered, like, and she has continued to try and continue. It was something she wanted, and she was going to continue to try and continue to not worry about failing, not worried about what people have to say about it, not worry about. And this is what I'm talking about with, when I talk about the Emmys do so much more than just give trophies to famous people. These are the kinds of stories that inspire people, because unfortunately we don't get to see the everyday lives often of people, but we do get to see the everyday lives of people on television. And that is a prime example. And I do believe her perseverance is what has partially, her talent as well, but that has partially made Susan Lucci the household name that she is.
Oh,
And
absolutely. And in a way, she is sort of like this inspirational story. Stick to it like Susan Lucci. Um, she's absolutely inspiring. And so, in talking about the incredible, just banana changes as we go forward. Okay, so we've already changed so radically that TV is barely on TV. It's on the computer, it's on your phone, it's in the daytime, it's in the nighttime. How do you see this going forward? Is everything going to be streaming? I mean, there was a time where it was a question like, are the actual awards for TV, the Emmys, going to themselves be on TV or not? This was actually in question at one point. And or is it only going to be via the internet? And I was like, well, wow, okay, that's pretty heavy because they're literally the TV Academy. They should be on TV. But everything has changed. How much more of, as I said, sponsorship for streaming and the show for streaming and shows for how far much further is this going to go? Is TV as we know it going to exist? I don't know.
So it's funny you say that, because I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who has small children, and we were talking, and she looked up at me and she said, we don't even have a TV, and I don't even think my kids know how to work one, because they watch everything on an iPad and they're used to touching it, right? They touch it. And I got to thinking about that, and I'm like, when you really narrow down and look at the generation that is to come, because that's where you're going to see how far is this going to go. A lot of the generation to come, when was the last time that you saw kids under the age of 12 or even under the age of 18 sit in front of a TV?
They're holding their TV, their phone, their thing. Well, I've had this with Little House because we're on our 7th generation of viewers, as we say, and I'll meet people who are older than I am. They were like adults watching the show, so they've first one. Then they were the people who were around my age who were kids watching the show. Then there's the next one about 10 years or more down who, oh, I watched it after school in reruns, and then oh, I watched it before school in reruns. And they start getting younger and younger, and then we hit the VHS generation, then we hit the DVD generation, then we hit the streaming generation where it's on the network. And I talked to her and she said, well, I don't think my granddaughter my daughter watched, my mother watched it, I watch it. She said, I don't think my granddaughter watched it. And the girl turns around with her phone and goes, no, I watch it on YouTube on my phone. And she'd seen as many episodes as her mother and her grandmother and the rest of the family. So yeah, people are used to holding it in their hand, that it is their phone, that it is their tablet, and that is TV. And I know even at my age, yes, I have the TV, but I've got the apps for a lot of the streaming networks and the other networks on my phone. And I got a Kindle and a laptop. When I travel, I got a Kindle and a laptop. I got my books on my Kindle. I got a laptop. I can watch I watched it was for the SAG Awards. I sat down, I was in Mexico and watched like every television series known to man on a little tiny thing in a hotel room. Yeah. And I'm old and I did that. So.
And so I think the answer, at least partially the answer to your question, is that I think TV itself is changing. I don't think it's disappearing. I don't think that. I think entertainment will always be, and I think you're always going to have creators. And as a matter of fact, I think entertainment is growing and flourishing, and there are more opportunities to be in entertainment now than ever. If you want to be in
it's like it's evolving, it's like morphing into something else.
Yes, yes. But I also think that the days of coming home and there being a television set and, dad's kicked back in front of the TV and we're watching what dad's watching, those days are done. And I think, to our earlier conversation, now you have to be so much more creative on how you both put a show together, how you advertise in a show. The attention span now is not 3-hour movies. They're not. I mean, we have to think about that. I think people wonder why there are more than one Emmy show, right? Well, because you can't have 4 or 5-hour shows anymore. That is not, even 3 or 4-hour movies now are not a thing.
I can't sit through a 3-hour movie because I need to go to the bathroom. They used to have intermission. If the movie was 3 hours long, they stopped. They had an intermission. You got candy. You went to the bathroom. Lawrence of Arabia. You had an but that's right, because you've got the news ones and the sports ones and the daytime ones and the evening ones. How many hours would that be? That would be be crazy.
Yeah, and I do think there was a generation years back when you could have, when you talked about the Children's and Family Emmys now being a show in and of itself, that is because we pulled Children's and Family out of our other shows. One, because it's one of the fastest growing genres on television, and there's so many opportunities now. There's so many kids shows and streaming platforms, and so much, you know, content for your kids, for learning, for watching, for entertaining, for this and that. It's growing dramatically. But also because I think attention spans are not, people are not going to sit and watch a show for hours and hours and hours. That's just not
And
how that.
I feel bad because I was raised as a kid in a family of actors. Oh, the Emmys are on. Oh, the Oscars are on. Oh, the Tony's. And it was like a religious kind of, ritual. We'd bet. You'd put $1 in the box and put in your list of who you thought was going to win. And can you imagine making that list now with all of the thousands of streaming shows? Go mad. But we'd make a list and we'd put $1 in, and we would not leave the room. It's like commercial. Hurry, hurry, it's back. And you but I mean, I used to watch it. We used to watch Miss America. I used to watch Las Floristas Ball. I'm still mad they took Las Floristas Ball off TV. And that was a hat contest, essentially, with giant, and there was a whole culture around award shows, literally all the way to the point of things like Las Floristas Ball, that people would literally sit there in prime time and go, and now we are going to watch an award show. And this is a thing we will do, and we'll have sandwiches, and we'll call in the neighbors. And that market, that experience, that people, they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it. It's a whole other thing. You have people who watch the Tonys and the Oscars and Emmys, but for totally different reasons, and a whole different, it's completely different now.
Well, I mean, I think it's completely different for several reasons. Back during the time you're talking about, because I remember those times, right? You're watching and you know everyone who took the stage because they're on one of those four networks,
Because
right?
there's only this many of them.
Right. They come in on those bunny ears on the back of your TV because they're on Fox, NBC, CBS, or ABC, right? And if you don't watch it, your grandma watches it, or your mom watches it,
Yeah.
and so everybody that's coming up, and it's hard not to cheer for everyone. And now it's like, I don't know if it's humanly possible to watch every single show
Okay.
out there for most people. It's different if you're in television and you're watching or judging or you're doing that. But if you are somebody at home and you're trying to keep up with all of the different things, it's incredibly difficult to, for one, all the streaming platforms now have their own subscriptions and their own this and that.
And their own content, their own everything. Yeah.
Yes. And so, just by that alone, I think it's changing. And I think the social side of it is changing as well, because even now as an adult, I stand at the end of the carpet, I'll be working and I'll see somebody walk the carpet and I'm like, is that who I think it is? Is it? And it's like a guy that was on a soap opera that my mom thought was cute, and I'm like,
Right.
it is, and you just have that because you remember your mom liked him. And I don't know that the social side of that is still the same thing. I guess I can't say that it isn't to some degree, right? But I don't think the kids coming home and their mom or parent, watching that same show type thing, that that dynamic I think is changing because there's not just one television in the house anymore. Most
But
people do have their own devices to watch on, and
completely.
you may or may not know what your parents are watching, right?
But then this, of course, then speaks to the behind the scenes sponsor of the show, because whereas before one would say, oh, well, the big sponsors on the TV, these are the people going to the party. But no, wait a minute. Sponsors were actually sponsoring the event itself, are in a
Yes.
way getting more for their buck because of the whole evolution of how we all now watch TV and the splintering. They're there and they're interacting directly with the talent and the producers and meeting all these people. And if you're watching the event or you're watching on one of your devices, you're maybe going to see more of the people who sponsored the red carpet and the party and the wine and all of those people that you're working with than you would have seen on the network. The world has moved.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I say to my sponsors when I'm talking to them, The other thing that you cannot do any longer, I've been in, not necessarily with the Emmys, but I've been in the industry of business development now for almost 30 years. And it used to be, you could tell the sponsor, this is where your product will be, this is what we'll do, this is blah, 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 blah. It's not like that anymore. I mean, you know, and the reason it's not is that when the show is over, there will be thousands of hits because people like yourself who were at the after party or you're in the VIP lounge had your phone out and you were shooting a small video with one of the sponsors or with the glass of wine you were drinking or with another celebrity and having a conversation around the food or the cocktail or the gift
or
bag,
the Optimus Prime on the table, or the
Prime or the red carpet or the this or the that. And that's not anything that we discussed. It's just part of what happens now. And what I mean by that is it's almost like people can almost shoot their own little segments and then tag the daytime Emmys.
exactly.
And you're sitting at home. And if you're following the tags on social media, you can watch just about any part of the lead up to the show, the after party, the red carpet through your favorite celebrity.
Right. If you're just following that celebrity, you're seeing half the Emmys right there.
Right. And through their eyes and through how they are experiencing it and what their night is like. So if you don't want to watch it through, this channel or this person or that host or this whatever, you can go onto your favorite celebrity's social media platform. And if they're nominated and they're there, they're probably posting, right? Yeah. You can see it through whatever lens you want, which is both fabulous and an incredible new avenue for
Kind of like
development. I mean, right?
It's like brilliant yet terrifying, but then,
Yeah.
then you have to explain to the sponsors. They're going, well, I'm going to give you this much money and I get my little Lego display at the end of the red carpet. Yes. But then you're also getting this, but then you're this, but am I on this? Well, no, you're not on this, but then you're on this. Oh, and then there's this other thing we don't even control that you're getting 10 million hits on. What? And you have to explain this to people so that they will give you money.
Well, I think you have to explain this to people so that, and it's not hard to explain now, and especially to younger people. You don't have to explain this to. I mean, they know, they grew up with this, and it's so unique when I sit down at the table to have this discussion with an organization that has a young person as their head of marketing or head of branding. They already know that. It is 100% why they want to be a sponsor rather than an advertiser. They want their story told through the eyes of the celebrities that are there. They want their story told through, the hands of the nominee or the executive producer or the business person who got a ticket or someone who landed a ticket or they're the date of someone else and they're so excited, or the kids that are there winning a grant from such and such school. They love their stories being told in those variety of ways. And it's a super interesting and unique time that we are living through now, because I think you can't control the narrative, but in a lot of ways, that's a beautiful thing,
No, because you're talking now about whole avenues and new audiences for the reach that completely did not exist 10 years ago. There was no way to say, well, I'd like to target these people, so have so-and-so hold a bottle of my wine. That wasn't a thing.
No.
And yeah.
And now it's definitely a thing. I mean, it's definitely a thing. And if the so-and-so that holds your bottle of wine happens to be on the Food Network, right?
And you can't necessarily plan that. You can't say, okay, here's our plan for the year. We're going to target the Food Network with, or no. So yeah, so that's the thing. So for sponsors, as I said, it's different than being an advertiser, and this evolution of TV, and as you said, this alignment now between daytime and evening is still like in the middle of happening. This isn't even done yet. We're not even how this wraps up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's true. And I think the other thing that is a unique opportunity that we haven't touched on yet, that I think you experienced firsthand, is a lot of our sponsors now versus 10 years ago. A lot of our sponsors attend the event
Yes.
and they walk the red carpet alongside you. They sit in the VIP section with you. You met some of them. They go to the after parties. And because entertainment is changing, it creates opportunities for them then to be a part of other shows and be a part of the experience themselves, right? And to front their own brand. They no longer need to rely on Tabatha, who's head of business development, to speak for their brand. They can do it themselves.
They're now working the room, which of course they were. But so what's so bizarre about this is that with all of the streaming and our new stuff, it's getting more and more separated and fragmented. But then you have this situation where it's actually more direct and hands-on, and they're sitting at the dinner table with the people they're marketing to. So it's like going in the other direction at the same time.
Yeah, they're literally sitting at the dinner table. Literally, they're eating with you. They're drinking their cocktails with you, right? They're drinking their wine with you, right? And yes, and so that is a whole, when I say that entertainment and the landscape of entertainment and television is changing, it is changing in every possible facet. So when you talk about the business development side of television and these sponsors and how they affect the show, you have to also realize, because they are in such high demand and they do have the opportunities we just talked about, a lot of creators. So if you're a writer or you're a producer and you're coming up with a new show and you're going to pitch it to a streaming company, or you're going to put it online yourself and you need sponsors, right? These are prime places to find those sponsors, right? This is avenues for you to find those sponsors. And if you come up with a great script and a great concept, and you come up with the backing for it, the likelihood of that being a success has now quadrupled, right?
Right.
Because there is no doubt that the appetite is out there for it. The streaming platforms, the somewhere to put it is not the question anymore. Back when you only had so many hours in the day on these 4 networks, it was a little bit of a rat race.
Yeah. How are you going to get on the schedule?
Yeah, how we can't fit that in. This other thing is something we stab in the dark, but we think it's going to do a little bit better. It's not like that anymore. If you can create it and you can pay for it, we will find a spot to give it a shot, right? And this is where sponsors are playing such a more substantial role in the arena of entertainment and television. And it also gives so many people the opportunity to play in this space, right? So one of the things I talk to the kids about who are have come through our foundation is the importance of understanding the business side of the industry you want to be in. It doesn't matter what industry it is, but for them it's entertainment. But that is a message to a lot of young people. You need to understand the
Hello.
business side of the
I
industry you're in.
literally talked about that on stage the other night at my show during Q&A. They asked about kids in the business. You have to understand the business side of it and how everything works. Shockingly, we are almost out of time, and I can't believe how fast this just went. Where can people find out more about you, more about the foundation and all of these things that are going on with the grants for young people and all the strange things that are happening, the Emmys that they didn't even know were happening that they need to know about?
Well, you can watch all of our shows at watch.theemmys.tv, and you can find us obviously online. You can find me personally at Tabatha Starcher on Instagram. My name is spelled with 3 A's, no I. We would love to have you tune in for all of our shows. I do think that as the 2024 season kicks off, you're going to see some really fun things coming your way. So thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this more than I can say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We always try to make it an enjoyable time for and it's not like an interrogation. It's a fun show. We try to do that. So thank
Well
you. Thank
done.
you
Well done.
for
And thank you for joining us at the Emmys.
thank you for letting me come to the Emmys. The food was amazing after, and everybody I met was so nice, and it was absolutely fascinating. So thank you, and thank you for coming on the Alison Arngrim Show, and all of you there. Thank you for watching. This is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim.